me, Sadie. Thanks for coming back to watch another episode of TheBite. Today we're going to do a delicious roast chicken with some compound butter, a sweet potato mash, and some roasted veggies on the side. Alright guys, so before we get this chicken in the oven to start roasting, we gotta prepare it a little bit. So we're gonna pat it dry and release the skin from the meat. It gives it a crispier texture, which is just the best way to eat a chicken. So let's get started. You wanna make sure to pat down as much of the surface area as you can. You want it to be as dry as possible. Because again, that is what gives it its crispy skin texture. And don't forget to get in between the meat and the skin. There we go. Yeah. All right. Skin's nice and loose on this chicken now. And now let's get our compound butter together. You're gonna make sure that your butter is at room temperature. You want it to be soft. We got our butter in here. We've got some nice fresh herbs. So we've got some thyme, fresh rosemary, and some fresh oregano. We're gonna take all of our fresh herbs and just chop them up. Also, when making a compound butter for a chicken dish or any kind of dish, you can substitute out any kinds of herbs. Anything that suits your flavor palette and or needs in a compound butter. Now I got our freshly cut herbs for our butter. So you guys definitely want to make sure to use a more room temperature butter than I'm using today. It'll make it a lot easier when mixing it up together. Sometimes switching to a fork with some not so room temperature butter is going to be a lot easier. Alrighty, and now we've got a not so bad herby compound butter. Now that we've got our compound butter all ready to go, we're ready to stuff this bird. Alright guys, so first we're going to start out with some salt. That's where all the flavor comes from, honestly. That's what helps bring out flavor. Alrighty, our chicken is nice and salted. Now we are gonna go in with the butter. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. This butter's gonna melt anyway, so just get it anywhere you can. You wanna get it down into the legs too. You wanna make sure that butter is all nice and in there. Use all that butter. Use every last inch of that butter. Yeah, getting this bird nice and stuffed. Alright. Now that we've got the butter in this chicken, not so evenly, which is totally fine, we are ready to get it in the pan to start roasting. So putting the bird into the pan, some nice easy things to do so that we avoid any burning of any sorts on any ends. You want to take these wingtips and just tuck them right back behind the bird. That way there's not any tip exposure, so we don't have any really dark bits before it's done cooking. Get on back there. Alright, so those ones are hidden. Another thing to do is to take these two bits right here, lock them together, and tie them up with some twine if you have any. Sadly, right now I do not have any, so I will just be setting my bird in there like so. So we've got our pan ready to go into the oven to start roasting. So now that we're ready to put the chicken into the oven, I want to talk to you about my favorite way of roasting a chicken. The way I like to roast is to start the chicken in a pretty high temperature oven, about 425, and I like to keep the legs in one of the back corners and for about 20 minutes. And then after that 20 minutes, I like to turn it down to 400 and then switch the position of the chicken so it gets a very nice even cook throughout. And you have your breast facing the front of the oven, so it gets less heat exposure, but it still cooks as evenly. It won't dry out as fast. So now we're gonna take our chicken and put them in the oven. Boom! Alrighty guys, so to accompany our roast chicken today, we're gonna do a sweet potato mash and some roasted Brussels sprouts with almonds, cranberries, and bacon. We're gonna start out by peeling our sweet potatoes. Kind of a dull peeler, not used to this kind. Flinging stuff. One down, 3 to go. All right, now we've got everything peeled, ready to chop. We're just gonna cut these sweet potatoes up into random tiny pieces. They don't have to be perfect because they're gonna get mashed up. You do want to make sure they're slightly uniform in size so that they do cook through all around the same time. I can hear something in the oven bubbling. It might be the butter oozing out of that chicken. Alrighty, so now we got our sweet potato all cut up and ready to go into some water. Best way to cook root vegetables such as sweet potatoes and potatoes when you want to mash them is to put them in a pot of cold water so that everything gets to come up to temperature at the same time so that you don't have any like extra mushy or hard pieces. Get that on and bring that to a boil. And my timer was just going off, telling me that it's perfect time to rotate my chicken a bit and turn the oven down. So I've turned the oven now down to 400 degrees and I'm about to rotate my chicken so that the legs are facing the other back corner of the oven. You can already see our chicken's getting a little bit of color to them as well. That butter is melting through and getting real bubbly. Alright, so we have our chicken in the oven going, and we just got our sweet potatoes in the water. Turn that on, you want to get that to a boil. Now we're going to start off with our Brussels sprouts. We're just going to get all of these quartered. Looking at the amount of Brussels sprouts that I have here, I don't think I'm going to need to even cut up all of them. So we just got this right here. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay Brussels sprouts down in a sheet pan. Put a nice even layer of the Brussels sprouts, because what we're gonna do is something that I haven't tried yet, but something I've wanted to experiment with. We're gonna take our bacon and just lay it right on top of everything. So as it all cooks, the bacon fat will go down into the Brussels sprouts and hopefully give it a really caramely texture on the bottom, and the bacon will cook on top. So now that we have our Brussels sprouts with bacon laid on top, we are just gonna throw this into the oven. Alright. So now that's all cooking. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna caramelize an onion to throw in with the Brussels sprouts. So we're just gonna cut it up. This is a strong onion, folks. Whew, starting to cry a little bit. It's a strong one. Alrighty, got our onions chopped up. And we're gonna throw them into a preheated cast iron skillet with some butter. bigger pieces of onion. I'm gonna strain these sweet potatoes. Oh yeah, they're perfectly like overdone. It'll be easy to mash these. Alrighty guys, so now that we have our sweet potatoes boiled and cooked through, we're gonna take this butter that I pre-sliced and drop it in there. Let it melt a little bit. We're just gonna stir it up a little bit to get the butter in there. We're just gonna let that sit for a second so that butter can get melted. Okay, so now we've let our butter sit in here for a second, get it melted slightly. We are going to add some heavy cream. You don't want to add too much at first because you can always add more. You want to also add a pinch of salt or two. And then just go to town. All right, now that we have everything incorporated, right now is a good time to taste it. Make sure the seasoning level is right. It's good, but it could use a bit more cream and more salt. And here we've got some nice mashed sweet potatoes. All right, now that the timer has gone off for the chicken, we're just gonna go and pull it out and check the internal temperature. Now that that is out, I also see that the Brussels sprouts are done as well. All right, so we're gonna take our thermometer, put it in the breast. We want it to be in one of the thickest parts of the bird. So we're gonna sit it there for a minute and see if it gets to the temperature of 165. And as you can see, it's not fully gotten to that temperature yet, so we're gonna put it back into the oven for a while until it gets to that internal temperature of 165. Alrighty, so now that we're gonna let the chicken finish cooking, I'm gonna bring the Brussels sprouts over and finish putting them together. Oh yeah, that's better. So to the Brussels sprouts, we're gonna add some raisins. some slivered almonds. And we're just gonna cut the bacon in here. And we're gonna try. Alright guys, now we have our nice and caramelized onions. We started them off at a low temperature because you want to get the water extracted from them, and after that point is when they finally start getting some color and some sweetness in the caramelization. And before we mix everything together, we just want to season it with a little bit of salt again. So good. Alright, let's check on the chicken now that it's been a little bit. Oh yeah. Nice skin. Right. And we'll put the thermometer in this side. Now it looks like we are there. We're at the right temperature, 165. Now that our chicken's done, we'll bring it over here with the rest of the food. All right, we have everything ready now. We're just gonna let the chicken rest for a few minutes before we cut into it. And while that's happening, we'll plate these two up. Alrighty, so now I'm going to take this chicken out of this pan, take it out however you can. Alright. Now we get our chicken here, ready to butcher up a little bit. Hopefully I don't butcher it too much. The chicken seems to just be falling off the bone a little bit. Yeah, look at that. And just right off. You just want to find the joint somewhere in here. It's hot. Oh, I found it! Yes. Alright. We got one. Two. Look how I could have done a little bit better of a job getting the full breast piece off of this side. Let's see if I can do a better job over here. This really is not the best knife. It could be sharper. But it is not doing half bad job. And as you can see, I did not do a better job on this side. The carcass is always perfect to make some homemade chicken stock, so leaving on a bit of meat is never a bad thing, because it always adds so much juicy, delicious flavor to a homemade stock. The whole chicken is definitely more than we need to eat right now, so I'm just going to plate up these breasts and legs. Look at all those herbs that stayed underneath the skin. As the butter melted, it just stuck right to the chicken, so it'll have some amazing herb flavor in there. I like that it popped open. So that they heat through evenly. I hope that's enough footage for you guys. That chicken smells so good.